Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome back to the daily readings of Srila Prabhupada's books, right here in the live studios in Radha Lane. How auspicious is that? Here it is Putrada, a devotee just told me, Vaikuntha Ekadasi. So we're on our way to the spiritual world if you strictly follow this Ekadasi. And you know, Lord Chaitanya, the only instruction that Lord Chaitanya gave to his mother, because you don't give instructions to your mother. You take instructions from your mother. But he gave one instruction to his mother. Don't eat grains on Ekadasi. Which is very interesting because in the Vedic scriptures, there's all kinds of standards. Fast from everything, fast the day before and the day after, you know, it's heavy, you know, prescriptions. And then Prabhupada just had us refrain from grains, and some of the smartas in India questioned things like that Prabhupada did. But then when you read Chaitanya Charitamrita, it's the only instruction that Lord Chaitanya gave to his mother. Don't eat grains or beans on Ekadasi. Prabhupada was so thorough, actually. Okay, welcome to everyone out in cyberspace. We're up to about 2,000 now followers. And one of our readings reached, you ready for this? You're sitting down. You're going to be shocked. One of our readings reached 9,900 persons. Now that doesn't mean that they were that many views, but one of them reached that many persons. Because people are it's starting to catch on actually, starting to spread. So there you have it, Krishna consciousness is spreading. I was just talking to Honest John about this, and his mother knitted me a cap, and I think she's knitting caps to all the brahmacharis. Did you get yours?
We got ours.
You got ours. So this is how Krishna consciousness spreads. You become a devotee, and then everybody around you, they just become devotees, you know. To one degree or another, somehow or other, they become favorable, or they become devotees. And now look at the service she's given all the brahmacharis, and yours truly, a beanie, hand woven, hand knitted. So online, I'm telling you, you give her a big hug for me. Okay, when you get back to see her, you give her a big hug, said, this is for me. And thanks, big thanks. Okay? All right. So let's move on. The 11th canto of Srimad-Bhagavatam, we're starting in. But before we do, we're going to read the Srimad-Bhagavata Mahima Stotram, the very wonderful glorification of the Srimad-Bhagavatam by Srila Sanatana Goswami, the intimate and senior Goswami of Vrindavan, intimate disciple of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, elder brother of Rupa Goswami. And it goes like this. Sarva Shastrabdi Piyusha, Sarva Vedaika Satpala, Sarva Siddhanta Ratnaja, Sarva Lokaika Drikprada. O nectar from the ocean of all scriptures, singular fruit of all the Vedas, rich mine of the precious gems of all conclusive truths, you are the only giver of sight to all the worlds. Sarva Bhagavata Prana, Srimad Bhagavata Prabho, Kalidwan Dodita Aditya, Shri Krishna Parivartita. O life air of all the Supreme Lord's devotees, O Master, Srimad Bhagavatam, you are the sun risen in the darkness of Kali. You are the exact image of Sri Krishna. Paramananda Pataya, Prema Barshakshadayate, Vada Sarvasevyaya, Shri Krishnaya Namostume. I bow down to you, who are supremely blissful to read. Your every syllable pours down a flood of prema. You can always be served by everyone. You are Sri Krishna himself. Marika Bando Matsang Gudo man mahadana man nistanagamad bhagya mad anandanamostute. My only friend, my constant companion, my spiritual master, my great, my savior, my good fortune, my source of ecstasy, I bow down to you. Asadu saduta dayin atini chochata kada hanamun shagadashin mam premna rit katayospuda. O bestower of saintliness to the unsaintly, O exalter of the most fallen, please never leave me. Always appear in my heart and my voice with pure love. See, the last verse takes away all excuses. Exalter of the most fallen. So even if you think you're the most fallen, it's no excuse. You get the mercy anyway. Okay, Lord Chaitanya's mercy flows down to the most fallen. It states it in Chaitanya Charitamrita. All right. We've entered into the 11th canto, and the title of the first chapter is The Curse upon the Yadu dynasty. And we're learning more about that. Beginning with text 6 and 7. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is the reservoir of all beauty. All beautiful things emanate from Him, and His personal form is so attractive that it steals the eyes away from all other objects, which then seem devoid of beauty in comparison to Him. When Lord Krishna was on the earth, He attracted the eyes of all people. When Krishna spoke, His words attracted the minds of all who remembered them. By seeing the footsteps of Lord Krishna, people became attracted to Him, and thus they wanted to offer their bodily activities to the Lord as His followers. In this way, Krishna very easily spread His glories, which are sung throughout the world by the most sublime and essential Vedic verses. Lord Krishna considered that simply by hearing and chanting those glories, conditioned souls born in the future would cross beyond the darkness of ignorance. Being satisfied with this arrangement, he left for his desired destination. How good is that? Let me read that one again. Lord Krishna considered that simply by hearing and chanting those glories, conditioned souls born in the future, that means us, would cross beyond the darkness of ignorance. Being satisfied with this arrangement, he left for his desired destination. Now we know the real reason why he came. Purport. According to Sridhar Swami, these two verses indicate that Lord Krishna, having achieved all the purposes for which he had descended, went back to his spiritual kingdom. It is natural that people in the material world hanker to see a beautiful object. In materialistic life, however, our consciousness is polluted by the influence of the three modes of nature, and therefore we hanker for material objects of beauty and pleasure. The materialistic process of sense gratification is imperfect because the laws of material nature will not allow us to be happy or satisfied in materialistic life. The living entity is constitutionally a servant of God and is meant to appreciate that infinite beauty and pleasure of the infinite beauty and pleasure of the Supreme Lord. Lord Krishna is the absolute truth and the reservoir of all beauty and pleasure. By serving Krishna, we can also share in his ocean of beauty and pleasure. and thus our desire to see beautiful things and enjoy life will be fully satisfied. The example is given that the hand cannot enjoy food independently, but can assimilate it indirectly by giving it to the stomach. Similarly, by serving Lord Krishna, the living entity who is part and parcel of the Lord will derive unlimited happiness. The inconceivable Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, by displaying his own true form, freed the living entities from falsely seeking forms of beauty other than his form, which is itself the source of all beautiful things. Writing is so nice. Yeah. Simply by seeing his lotus feet, fortunate living beings could distinguish between the ungodly endeavors of the karmis who seek gross enjoyment for their own sense gratification and the practice of dovetailing one's activities with the service of the Lord. Although philosophers perpetually speculate about the nature of God, Lord Krishna directly liberated the jiva souls from all speculative misunderstandings about him by displaying his actual transcendental form and activities. Superficially, Krishna's personal form, words, and activities resemble those of ordinary conditioned souls. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur explains that those of ordinary explains that this apparent resemblance between the Lord's activities and those of the living entities is a merciful concession by the Lord, so that the conditioned souls will be attracted to him and become eligible to return to his kingdom for an eternal life of bliss and knowledge. By showing his spiritual form and kingdom to the living entities in a way tangible for them, Lord Krishna drove away their false enjoying attitude and removed their longings to his personality. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, if one can understand the position of Sri Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one will never again fall into the network of material illusion. Such a fall down can be avoided if one constantly hears about the unique transcendental form and beauty of the Lord from authorized Vedic literatures. Srila Prabhupada's Bhaktivedanta Purports Ki Jai. As explained in the Bhagavad Gita 2:42-43, Yamimam pushpitam bacham pravadantyaf avipushpashtitaha Veda Vada Partha Nanyat Astitivadinaha Kamatmana Swargapada Janma Karma Palaprad Kriya Vishesha Bahulam Bhogaishvarya Gatim Prati. Men of small knowledge are very much attached to the flowery words of the Vedas, which recommend various fruitive activities for elevation to heavenly planets, resultant good birth, power, and so forth. Being desirous of sense gratification and opulent life, they say that there is nothing more than this. On the other hand, certain parts of the Vedic literature are specifically meant to award material sense gratification to the conditioned soul, and at the same time condition him to obey the Vedic injunctions. The portions of the Vedas that recommend fruitive activities for regulated sense gratification are themselves dangerous, because the living being who engages in such activities becomes easily entangled in the material enjoyment offered and neglects the ultimate purpose of the Vedas. The ultimate purpose of Vedic literature is to bring the living entity back to his original consciousness, in which he acts as an eternal servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By rendering service to the Lord, the living entity can enjoy unlimited spiritual bliss in the association of the Lord in his own kingdom. Thus, one who seriously desires to advance in Krishna consciousness should specifically hear the Vedic literature that deals with pure devotional service to the Lord. One should hear from those who are highly advanced in Krishna consciousness and avoid interpretations that stimulate materialistic desires for enjoyment. Maybe that's why not that many people still read Prabhupada's books, because they get their desires for material enjoyment snuffed out. When the tiny living entity is finally able to see the difference between the temporary affairs of this world and the transcendental activities of Lord Trivikram, he devotes himself to the Lord and removes from his heart the dark covering of matter, no longer desiring sense gratification, which is enjoyed under the two headings, sin and piety. Not just sin, sin and piety. In other words, although people within this world are considered sinful or pious on the material platform, both sin and piety are performed for one's personal gratification. If one can understand that his real happiness lies in giving pleasure to Krishna, Lord Krishna takes such a fortunate living being back to his own abode, which is called Goloka Vrindavan. According to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, the Lord first gives a sincere soul the opportunity to hear about his pastimes. When the devotee has advanced in his spontaneous attraction to such narrations, the Lord gives him the opportunity to take part in his spiritual pastimes as they appear within this world. By taking part in the pastimes of the Lord within a particular universe, the living being becomes completely detached from the material world, and ultimately the Lord brings him to his personal abode in the spiritual sky. Foolish people cannot understand this substantial benefit offered by the Lord. But Lord Krishna acts for the benefit of such foolish people by saving them from their absorption in the temporary world of false enjoyment. That wasn't me. The Lord does this by personally displaying his own superlative transcendental beauty, transcendental words, and transcendental activities. She has pointed out that the words tamo naya tarishanti indicate that although Lord Krishna appeared 5,000 years ago, one who hears and chants about the activities, forms, and words of the Lord will get exactly the same benefit as those who personally experienced these things as contemporaries of Lord Krishna. Hare Krishna. Shall I say that one again? We'll read that one again just so Elena can hear it. Srila Jiva Goswami has pointed out that the words tamo naya tarishanti indicate that although Lord Krishna appeared 5,000 years ago, one who hears and chants about the activities, form, and words of the Lord will get exactly the same benefit as those who personally experienced these things as contemporaries of Lord Krishna. You're welcome. In other words, he will also cross over the darkness of material existence and achieve the Lord's abode. Thus, Srila Jiva Goswami concludes that if such an exalted destination is available to all living beings, it must certainly have been awarded to the Yadavas, who were personal associates of the Lord. It is stated in this verse that by his beauty, Krishna stole away the vision people who saw him. Krishna's speaking was so attractive that those who heard him became speechless. Since generally those who cannot speak are also deaf, the Lord's words also stole away the ears of those who heard him, since they were no longer interested in hearing sounds other than the Lord speaking. By displaying the beauty of his footsteps, Krishna stole away from those who saw them the power to materialistic activities. Thus, by his appearance in this world, Krishna took away the senses of mankind. In other words, he made people blind, dumb, deaf, mad, and otherwise invalid. Therefore, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur asks, since he took away everything people possessed, who would properly call him merciful? Rather, he is just a thief. In this way, he indirectly offers the highest praise to the beauty of the Lord. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur also points out that although Krishna gave liberation to the demons, to those who were attracted to him, Krishna gave pure love of God and drowned them in the ocean of his beauty. Thus, Krishna is not like a person who gives charity without discrimination. And Krishna is so merciful that not only did he give the highest benediction to the inhabitants of the earth, but he empowered great saintly persons such as Vyasadeva to describe his pastimes with beautiful poetic verses. Thus people born on the earth in the future could easily cross the ocean of birth and death by those glories, which are compared to a strong boat. In fact, those of us who are now enjoying the glories of Krishna through the transparent medium of the Bhaktivedanta purports to Srimad-Bhagavatam, by the mercy of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, are the fortunate recipients of the mercy of Krishna, who was merciful even to persons yet not born, yet to be born. Quoting from the Amara Kosha dictionary, Srila Vishwanath Chakrabarti has also stated, Padam Vipasita Trana Stana Lakshmyangri Vas. The possible definitions for Padam are that which has been decided, place of deliverance, fortune, foot, or object. Thus he translates the word Padam as also meaning Vyavasita, that which has been decided. In other words, the statement Agat Swam Padam Ishvara indicates not only that Krishna went to his abode, but that Krishna realized his determined desire. If we say that Krishna returned to his eternal abode, we imply that Krishna had been absent from his abode and was now returning. Therefore, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur points out that it is incorrect to say in a normal sense that Krishna went back to his abode. According to the Brahma Samhita, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna is always present in his eternal abode, in the spiritual sky. Yet by his causeless mercy, he also manifests himself from time to time within the material world. In other words, God is all-pervading. Even when present before us, he is simultaneously in his abode. The ordinary soul, or jiva, is not all-pervading, like the supersoul, and therefore by his presence in the material world, he is absent from the spiritual world. In fact, we are suffering due to that absence from... In fact, whoops, I did it again. I clicked the wrong thing, and here we are. Oh, we're not too far away. Even when present before us, he is simultaneously in his abode. The ordinary soul or jiva, is not all-pervading, like the super-soul, and therefore by his presence in the material world, he is absent from the spiritual world. In fact, we are suffering due to that absence from the spiritual world, or Vaikuntha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, however, is all-pervading, and therefore Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur translates the word Agat Swam Padam to mean that Krishna achieved exactly what he desired. The Lord is all-pervading and self-sufficient in fulfilling his perfect desires. His appearance and disappearance in this world should never be compared to ordinary material activities. Vishwanath Chakravarti has quoted a statement by Uddhava at the beginning of the third canto of Srimad-Bhagavatam, 3.2.7, wherein Uddhava compares the disappearance of Lord Krishna to the setting of the sun. In his purport to this verse, Srila Prabhupada has written, the comparison of Krishna to the sun is very appropriate. As soon as the sun sets, darkness automatically appears. But the darkness experienced by the common man does not affect the sun itself, either at the time of sunrise or at sunset. Lord Krishna's appearance and disappearance are exactly like that of the sun. He appears and disappears in innumerable universes, and as long as he is present in a particular universe, there is all transcendental light in that universe. But the universe from which he passes away is put into darkness. His pastimes, however, are everlasting. The Lord is always present in some universe, just as the sun is present in either the eastern or the western hemisphere. The sun is always present, either in India or America, but when the sun is present in India, the American land is in darkness, and when the sun is present in America, the Indian hemisphere is in darkness. Srila Jiva Goswami has quoted a verse from the end of the 11th canto that further clarifies that the abode of the Lord is as eternal as the Lord himself. The ocean immediately swallowed Dwarka, O Maharaj, taking away the Lord's personal abode, which the Lord had abandoned. The Supreme Lord Madhusudana is always present in Dwarka, which merely by being remembered takes away everything unfavorable. It is the most auspicious of auspicious places. Bhagavatam 11:31, 23 and 24. Just as the sun appears to be swallowed by the night, Krishna, or his abode or his dynasty, seems to disappear, but actually the Lord and all of his paraphernalia, including his abode and dynasty, in this are eternal, in the same way as the sun is always in the sky. Srila Prabhupada says in this connection, as the sun appears in the morning and gradually rises to the meridian and then again sets in one hemisphere while simultaneously rising in the other, so Lord Krishna's disappearance in one universe and the beginning of his different pastimes in another take place simultaneously. As soon as one pastime is finished here, it is manifested in another universe. And thus his Nitya Lila, or eternal pastimes, are going on without ending. Text 8. King Parikshit inquired, how could the Brahmanas curse the Vrishnis, who were always respectful to the Brahmanas, charitable, and inclined to serve senior and exalted personalities, and whose minds were always fully absorbed in thought of Lord Krishna? Purport. Brahmanas generally become angry at persons who disrespect the Brahminical class, who are uncharitable, and who decline to serve senior respectable personalities. The Vrishnis, however, were not like that. and thus they are described here by King Parikshit as Brahmanyanam, or sincere followers of Brahminical culture. Further, even if the Brahmanas became angry, why would they curse members of Krishna's own family? Since the Brahmanas were well learned, they must have known that it is offensive to oppose personal associates of the Supreme Lord. The Yadu dynasty is specifically described here as Vrishninam and Krishna Chetasam. In other words, they were Lord Krishna's own men, and they were always absorbed in thinking of Krishna. Therefore, even if somehow or other the Brahmanas had cursed them, how could that curse have had any effect? These are the questions of Parikshit Maharaj. Although the Vrishnis are described in this verse as Krishna Chetasam, always absorbed in thinking of Krishna, it is clearly indicated that Krishna desired that the Brahmanas become angry and curse the Yadu dynasty. The Supreme Lord desired to remove his personal dynasty from the earth, and therefore uncustomary offensive behavior was exhibited by the young boys of Krishna's own family. It is to be understood from this incident that when a man displays envy and ridicule of devotees of Vishnu, his brahmanyata, or high spiritual qualifications, along with his reverence for Sri Krishna, are all destroyed. Contempt and ridicule directed toward respectable persons and true brahmanas vanquish all good qualities. If there is a break in etiquette toward his devotees, the Supreme Lord will become ill-disposed, even to his own relatives and friends, and thus arrange to destroy those who oppose his devotees. If foolish persons in the guise of members of Krishna's personal family express enmity toward Vaishnavas, such offenders cannot properly be called offspring of Lord Krishna's dynasty. This is the supreme equality of the personality of Godhead. Hare Krishna. Text 9. King Parikshit continued inquiring, what was the motive for this curse? What did it consist of, O purest of the twice born? And how could such a disagreement have arisen among the Yadus, who all shared the same goal of life? Please tell me all these things. Purport. Ekat manam means that the Yadus all shared the same opinion, namely that Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, was the goal of their life. Therefore, Parikshit Maharaj could not see any obvious reason for such a destructive quarrel among the members of the Yadu dynasty, and he was anxious to know the actual cause. Text 10. Shukadeva Goswami said, the Lord, who bore his body as the amalgamation of everything beautiful. I'll say that again. Shukadeva Goswami said, the Lord, who bore his body as the amalgamation of everything beautiful, dutifully executed the most auspicious activities while on the earth, although he was, in fact, without any endeavor, already satisfied in all desires. Residing in his abode and enjoying life, the Lord, whose glorification is in itself magnanimous, now wanted to annihilate his dynasty, as there still remains some small part of his duty to be carried out. Purport. This verse answers Parikshit Maharaj's question as to how the powerful members of the Yadu dynasty could be cursed by the Brahmanas and thus destroy themselves in a fratricidal war. By the words sanghartum aichchita kulam. It is clearly stated that Lord Krishna himself desired to withdraw his dynasty and therefore engaged the Brahmanas as his agent. Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur remarks here that Krishna had clearly demonstrated the insurpassable beauty and strength of his personal pastimes and pleasures to all the residents of the earth. Thus, his incarnation to kill the demons, save the devotees, and re-establish religious principles had been completely successful. When Lord Krishna noticed that his mission was now complete, everything having been done perfectly, he desired to return to his transcendental abode along with the Vrishnis. Thus the Lord personally arranged for the Yadu dynasty to be cursed by the Brahmanas. According to Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur, aptakama means that Krishna is always self-satisfied, and yet in order to execute his transcendental pastimes, he arranged to destroy his own dynasty for three specific purposes, namely, to re-establish in the heavenly planets those demigods who had taken birth among the Yadus to assist him, to re-establish his plenary Vishnu expansions in their abodes, such as Vaikuntha, Shvetadvip, and Bhadrakashram, and to remove himself from the vision of the material world along with his eternal associates. In this connection, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati has made several important remarks about the destruction of the Yadu dynasty. He states that many so-called religious persons have fallen down by committing the second offense against the chanting of a holy name, namely, Vishnu Sarveshwareshe Tad Itara Samadhi, considering another living entity to be equal to Lord Vishnu, who is the Lord of Lords. One who is captured by the impersonal tendency of Mayavad philosophy falsely thinks that the external material energy of the Lord is equal to his internal spiritual potency. In this way, one equates ordinary living entities with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, taking Krishna to be another aspect of Maya. This is the most unfortunate misconception, for it spoils one's opportunity to understand God as he actually is. Persons inclined toward this illusory conception of life would undoubtedly consider the members of the Yadu dynasty equal in all respects to Krishna and worship the future descendants of Krishna's family as being equal to Krishna himself. Thus the continued presence of the Yadu dynasty on earth would certainly constitute a great impediment on the path of spiritual understanding and a great burden on the earth. To counteract the danger to the world from the offense of equating Vishnu with the family of Vishnu, the Lord decided to crush the Yadu family. The Supreme Lord Sri Krishna is always affectionate to his devotees. But whenever the familial descendants of Lord Krishna become inimical or indifferent to him, not loving his pure devotees, or making friendship with his servants, such so-called family members of your Lord become impediments to his will. There is a tangible danger that ignorant living beings will worship such inimical persons, revering them as close associates of Krishna. For example, to consider Krishna the maternal uncle of Krishna, for example, to consider Kamsa, the material uncle of Krishna, and therefore a faithful servant of Krishna, would be a completely erroneous conclusion. By such a misconception, evil men who oppose the Lord may be accepted as its intimate associates, and persons inimical to Krishna may be thought of as his surrendered dependents, appearing in his own family. The purpose of the destruction of the Yadu dynasty was to eradicate the false logic of the Mayavadis, who desire to see everything as one in all respects, and who therefore improperly reason that the enemies of Krishna's devotees can be his intimate family members. Hare Krishna. We got to read these books, kids. We got to read these books. Try to understand. Even if it's not so easy, just keep trying to understand. Keep hearing, trying to understand. And gradually all the pieces of the puzzle will fall in place, and then you'll be happy. Text 13 to 15. Is that where we are? 13, 15? What? 11, 12. I did it again. Oh, okay. 11, 12. Thank you. The sages, Vishwamrita, Asita, Kanva, Durvasa, Bhrigu, Angira, Kashyapa, Vamadev, Atri, and Vishishta, along with Narada and others, once performed fruitive rituals that award abundant pious results, bring great happiness, and take away the sins of Kali Yuga for the whole world by merely being recounted. The sages duly executed these rituals in the home of the chief of the Yadus, Vasudeva, the father of Lord Krishna. After Lord Krishna, who was staying in Vasudeva's house as time personified, respectfully sent the sages off at the conclusion of the ceremonies. They went to the holy place called Pindaraka. Purport. In this verse, Shukadeva Goswami begins to narrate the story of the Brahminical curse that arose against the Yadu dynasty by the Lord's desire. According to Sridhar Swami, certain religious rituals, such as the Ashwamedha Yajna, generate pious reactions. On the other hand, activities such as caring for one's children give immediate pleasure in the present only, whereas rituals performed as atonement take away sinful reactions. But the religious activities mentioned in verse 11, which are indicated by the words karmani, punya, nivahani, su mangalani, gaya jagat kali, malapaharani, in all respects, they produced abundant pious results and great joy, and were so potent that merely glorifying these rituals relieves one from all the sinful reactions of Kali Yuga. The sages called to Vasudeva's house to perform such auspicious religious activities were sent gifts and then sent by Krishna to Pindaraka, a nearby holy place, situated about 2 miles from the Arabian Sea on the coast of Gujarat. Its current name is still Pindaraka. Significantly, Lord Krishna is mentioned here as Kalatmana, the form of time, or the Supersoul. In the 11th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the Supreme Personality of Godhead reveals himself to Arjuna as time personified, appearing on the battlefield of Kurukshetra to destroy all the kings and armies who constitute a burden to the earth. Similarly, Kalatmana Nivasata Yadudeva Gehe. Krishna was staying in the home of his father Vasudeva as time personified, thus indicating that the time was approaching for the destruction of his own dynasty according to his desire. Text 13, 15. To that holy place, the young boys of the Yadu dynasty had brought Samba, son of Jambavati, dressed in woman's garb. Playfully approaching the great sages gathered there, the boys grabbed hold of the sages' feet and impudently asked them with feigned humility, "O learned Brahmanas, this black-eyed pregnant woman has something to ask you. She is too embarrassed to inquire for herself. She is just about to give birth and is very desirous of having a son. Since all of you are great sages with infallible vision, please tell us whether her child will be a boy or a girl. Purport. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati has made the following comment. The impudent behavior of the young Yadus toward the sages headed by Narada, who were all brahmanas and devotees of the Lord, was a display of deviation from the path of Lord Krishna. Similarly, although the Prakrita Sahajas think of themselves as intimate associates of Krishna, the Supremely Merciful Lord's determination is perfectly correct in working to finish such false devotees. Krishna never accepts any service from such impostors. Is that sentence there?
Yeah, written differently.
Yeah, it's edited to make it clear. Krishna never accepts any service from such impostors. Is it clearer?
Yeah, much. This says such impostors actually never accept real service.
Krishna never accepts any service from such impostors. The Yadu Kumara's deception is termed seemingly humble, meaning that in fact they were anything but humble. Therefore, the ridiculing of Vaishnavas by the Lord's family resulted in a great offense against the devotees of the Lord. A similar incident occurred during the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when his own mother offended Sri Advaita Acharya. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally rectified this offense against a great Vaishnava, and thus the Lord showed his magnanimity. Lord Krishna's pastime of destroying the Yadu dynasty is also a demonstration of his mercy to his devotees. Believing the Brahmanas, Vaishnavas, and Rishis to be foolishly lacking knowledge in material affairs of sense gratification, the Yadu Kumaras dressed Samba, the son of Jambavati, as a woman and tried to mock the saintly assembly. Lord Krishna wanted to teach that such an offense committed against great devotees by his associate Samba would be the cause of the Yadu dynasty's destruction, all as a part of his Leela. In modern times, such misbehavior has also manifested itself within the Gaudiya Vaishnava community. Unauthorized persons have initiated the process of deceitfully bestowing a woman's dress on their followers. Whoa! This process is to be counted as a variety of aparad, or offense against Krishna. Such an attempt to cheapen and ridicule devotional service to Krishna is certainly caused by envy toward the real Vaishnavas, who are faithfully engaged in devotional service according to the rules and regulations of the Vedic literature. Thus Rupa Goswami had said, as says, Shruti Smriti Puranadi Pancharatra Vidim Bina Aikantiki Harer Bhaktir Utpata Yaiva Kalpate. If one wants to demonstrate his great devotion to the Supreme Lord, but his process of devotional service violates the standard rules of revealed scriptures, such as Shruti, Smriti, Puranas, and Narada, then his alleged love of Godhead will simply disturb society by misleading people from the auspicious path of spirit. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.2.101. The taking of a woman's clothing by a man in Krishna Leela was intended to point out this fact. Such an act amounts to cheating and ridicule of the devotees of Krishna. Samba is a personal associate of the Lord, but acting as a harbinger of the future misfortune to be created by the Kali Yuga by bogus followers of Sri Mahaprabhu. Samba displayed this didactic pastime to help the living entities be blessed on the correct path of devotional service. The boy said to the sages, O rishis, O Brahmanas, O Narada, and other great personalities, can you tell us whether it will be a son or a daughter that will be born from this pregnant woman's womb? By addressing pure Vaishnavas in this way, they anticipated the fraudulent sampradayas of the modern age in their practice of Sakhi Beka, or dressing men as female associates of the gopis. You think this is a joke? You can go to India and see them. They're actually there, walking around on the streets sometimes. This unauthorized activity constitutes contempt and mockery of the pure devotees of the Lord. Many false yogis, imagining they are distributing first-class devotion on the liberated platform, attempt to award the status of pure devotee to candidates totally ignorant of the transcendental tastes of Madhura Rati, or the Lord's conjugal love in the spiritual world. Even though they know that the general populace is unfit associates of the Lord, they artificially decorate ordinary persons with the ornaments of spiritual perfection, such as tears, a melted heart, and the standing end of the bodily hairs. Thus, these bogus yogis introduce a process that misleads the world. Because Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu understood that the great misfortune caused by such false yogis, or kuyogis, was impossible to forestall in Kali Yuga, he infected them with insane desires for material objects of lust, so that ordinary persons can easily identify such false yogis as deviated from the path of pure devotional service. The mockery of the Brahmanas and Vaishnavas by the young boys of the Yadu dynasty, who dressed Samba in a woman's garb, and the resultant destruction of the dynasty, conclusively demonstrate the uselessness of the Sahaja Sampradayas. Brilliant. Just brilliant. Srila Jiva Goswami has confirmed that the lack of humility shown by the sons of the Yadu dynasty was an arrangement by the Lord himself. In other words, the members of the Yadu dynasty are ultimately associates of Lord Krishna, and to facilitate the instructive pastimes of the Lord, they acted in apparently unethical ways. Therefore, Janma Karma Chame Divyam Evam Yo Veditatvataha. If you actually understand the transcendental nature of Krishna's appearance and activities, you can go back to Godhead. It's not so easy. So we should never take it cheaply, and we should just humbly just keep hearing and trying to understand, and don't stop for anything for the rest of our lives. And at some point in that continuum, everything will become clear, and Krishna will take us back to Godhead in the end. Even if we're not ready, Prabhupada told us. Because we may forget, but Krishna never forgets. If you can keep trying to understand and hear for the rest of your life without stopping, you will go back to God and follow the principles. Chant your 16 rounds. Follow the 4 regular principles. And hear and chant. Then you will go back to God. However much you may not be able to conceive of that right now. Okay, we'll stop there tonight for our reading. Turn it over to you guys. Open mic. Such nice purports, huh? So clear. Yes, Prana, start us off.
We read a lot tonight. I thought it was amazing also, and just one thing I wanted to express to begin was just to show some gratitude for your reading of Prabhupada's books, because it's so much more relishable, and the meaning is really brought out for our understanding when someone is able to read them with that that transcendental taste, and just, I don't know, the way that you read, Maharaj, was very illuminating these passages tonight. So thank you so much. It was completely ecstatic.
Well, reading is an art. It's not just, it's an art actually. You have to know when to pause, how to put the phrases together so that they, go in easier. Yeah, it's a fact. And I've been doing this every day for 6 years. Every single day, practically. So practice. Just keep practicing. That's what I'm telling you. It's my realization. Just keep hearing. And things become more clear. And as they become more clear, your words will become more clear. Even you're out there preaching, it'll become more clear. You'll become more potent. And you'll be able to make devotees. And Krishna will be more and more pleased. And from within the heart, he'll give you so much direction. Tesham satati yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam. Even if you do it mechanically, eventually it will become priti. It will come with a friend. And then dadami yoguri yogantam yenamam upayanti te. Krishna will give you the directions how to come back to him. You can't get those directions by yourself. They have to be given to us by Krishna. Thank you very much for that. Hare Krishna. And all I can say is this, and this may sound crazy, anyway, I am crazy, but here it is. Sometimes when you speak, it's more difficult. And I've realized that sometimes even when you read, it's more difficult. But when everyone in the room is actually tuned in, it becomes so much easier to read. So I take no credit. I give all the credit to Srila Prabhupada and to you, and to your ears, and to your hearts. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Honest John, I can feel it from here. You got something.
Okay. I would like you maybe just to kind of break this down a little bit. Okay, since he took away, I want to read the context of it all the way around a little bit, so then we'll get to the verse. Since he took away everything people possessed, who would properly call him merciful, rather he's just a thief. In this way, he indirectly offers the highest praise to the beautiful Lord. Vishnava Chakravarti Thakur also points out that although Krishna gave liberation to the demons by destroying them, to those who were attracted to him, Krishna gave pure love of God and drowned them in the ocean of his mercy. His beauty, I'm sorry. Now, this is the verse that I was kind of mulling over. Thus, Krishna is not like a person who gives charity without discrimination. And Krishna is so merciful that not only did he give the highest benedictions to the inhabitants of earth, but he empowered great saintly persons such as Vyasadeva to describe his pastimes with beautiful poetic verses. So this one verse, thus Krishna is not like a person who gives charity without discrimination. I would like you to explain.
Okay, a person who gives charity without discrimination is described in the Bhagavad Gita to be influenced by either passion or ignorance. And when he gives charity for some benefit for himself, it's passion. And when he gives charity without consideration of the time and circumstance and proper respect, then it's an ignorance. And it has the opposite effect.
Could you give an example of giving some...
Yeah, you give charity to a person on the street, and he goes and takes that money and buys some drugs,
Okay.
or does some nefarious activity, and you get reaction, you share in that reaction.
So the people that are thinking they're doing good deeds by giving charity indiscriminately are actually just heaping
Exactly.
problems on themselves.
Exactly.
People, yeah.
Exactly. And the reactions of those things are so subtle and all pervasive, and so now, you know the plagues that hit the world. You know, the bubonic plague that wiped out most of Europe at one point. Things like that, or wars that wipe out, millions and millions of people. They're coming about as the reactions of these kinds of things. Killing of cows, killing of our own children.
And thinking that's charitable. Like,
yeah. Or
service.
Or trying to liberate a country.
And killing half of them in the meantime.
Etc.
Hare Krishna, I have a question I was hoping you can help me to understand a little bit. We hear how Krishna's pastimes are, when they become unmanifest from this material universe, they manifest in another. We also hear earlier in the 10th canto how the residents of Vraja were brought to the transcendental abode, and then the pastimes were unmanifest there. So are they conscious that they're going into the transcendental world and also still in pastimes in the material universes? I don't know how they're doing that.
Well, that's Yoga Maya. By Yoga Maya, Krishna can cause his eternal associates to forget certain things about him, or about themselves even, but still remember him all the time. But Mahamaya causes us to forget him, period, and get, attracted to, covered by the material energy. So that's Yoga Maya. By Yoga Maya, Krishna can do anything. He can counteract nature. And therefore his pastimes are especially these aspects of his pastimes are very difficult to understand. How he can, send his devotees back to the spiritual world, at the same time keep them there and be with them in an unmanifest state, and at the same time go back to Dwarka. We heard about that. All at the same time. Yeah. That means that he is all-powerful. Rather than doubt, if a person has full faith, if a person understands that Krishna is actually all-powerful and can do anything, there's no restrictions on him. He's not under the laws of material nature. And this is the contamination of Mayavad philosophy. It tries to convince us that the form of Krishna is just another form of the material nature, the absolute truth taking another form of it that makes the rest of us worship him as God, but actually God is impersonal, the source of Krishna. That's Mayavad philosophy, or impersonal philosophy. And it disallows us from giving our hearts to him fully. It disallows us to have full faith that he can do anything, because he can. Prabhupada used to explain how if a person is the engineer of a thing, a big skyscraper, whatever, and has engineered it, in other words, he's the one who gets all the, ingredients together and tells the workers where to put it and how to put it, and everything from top to bottom, the overall engineer. Then he understands everything about the building. So Krishna, he knows everything about everything. And he can undo anything he wants and redo it if he wants. Now he doesn't do that all the time. He acts in such a way, and it's described by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur that he agrees when he comes into the material world to act as if he's under the control of the modes of nature in certain ways. In that way he kind of hides his, And of course, when he comes as Lord Chaitanya, he hides himself completely because he comes as a devotee rather than as the Lord. But what he does, no one else has ever done, no one else can do, and therefore those who have spiritual intelligence, who are actually intelligent and actually sincere, can understand and see him for what he is. Therefore, again, Janma karma chame divyam evam yo vedi tatvata jaktudeham punarjama naitimam edi sorjana. If one understands properly tattvaha, means in truth, the nature of Krishna's birth and activities, then he can go back to the spiritual world. And it sounds simple. All you have to do is understand Krishna and the nature of his activities in birth. That's all. Oh yeah, but when you read what he actually is doing, we're going, how's that possible, you know? That's why the Bhagavatam is so beautiful, because all the questions that come into our mouth, the doubts, they come up and they're answered. Therefore, in the beginning of the Bhagavatam it says, Nirmatsaranam satam dharma prochita kaitavotra padamo nirmatsaranam satam. The qualifications for understanding Krishna's pastimes, the Bhagavatam in particular, is to be free from envy. You have to give up envy. That's something that we have to do. We can dovetail anger, we can dovetail lust even. We can dovetail madness. But you can't dovetail envy. That has to be given up. And satam, to be honest. Honest John. Because if you're honest, then when you hear something that's true, you can accept it and understand it. So free from envy, honest. It's okay, so you're going to say, yeah, but I'm not free from envy and I'm not honest, so I must be, I can't read the Bhagavatam. No, the Bhagavatam will make you free from envy and honest, and at the same time reveal everything to you. In other words, it's the means and the ends at the same time. The holy name and the Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita. They're the means to achieve the goal, and they are the goal at the same time. Because once you are free from envy and honest, then you will see Krishna in the sound. You will see Krishna in the pages of even in your computer screen. Is that something?
Yes, that was wonderful.
Was it clear?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Jai Shri has left a comment.
Jai Shri has a comment. Hare Krishna, Jai Shri.
It's a quote first. In fact, those of us who are now enjoying the glories of Krishna through the transparent medium of the Bhaktivedanta purports to Srimad-Bhagavatam, by the mercy of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, are the fortunate recipients of the mercy of Krishna, who is merciful even to persons yet to be born. 11.1.6-7. Purport. This statement is so wonderful. We are the fortunate persons that are given the opportunity to relish this nectar, although throughout these purports, unlimited generations of devotees in the future can get the benefits also. We are forever in debt to Srila Prabhupada and all the pure devotees that worked so hard to manifest these Bhaktivedanta purports. Your servant, Jai Shri Devi Dasi.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Jai Shri Devi Dasi. Wonderful. Spot on. Completely correct. Captured the Siddhanta. Yes, Prana.
That first verse, text 6 and 7 that we read, it seemed like, Krishna himself is, thinking there that his desire was fulfilled by displaying his activities so that the glories of those can be chanted and heard for future generations. So the hearing of Srimad-Bhagavatam was the fulfillment of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of God's desire for coming here, which you mentioned at the beginning, but I thought that was such a profound and beautifully stated
and part of that
point.
Is his removal of the Yadu dynasty. Part of that was to remove the burden of, and to show that even if you're his family members, if you act impudently to his devotees, right? So to show that, he performed this pastime, Moshala Lila. That one of the acharyas said something to the effect that the Moshala Lila was enacted by Krishna, the way he did it, in order to bewilder the atheist, so that the atheist will have some reason to say, oh, just see, he's ordinary person. You know. Just to give them some, that's his kindness, even on the atheists. He gives them reason, apparent reason, that they can use to prove that he's not Krishna, that he's not transcendental, that he's not all-powerful. But Krishna is thinking, I'm taking them all out, you know, so that none of them will be able to become, you know, to do this kind of thing, and sully, and you know, my reputation by acting in a way, you know, offensive, on the plea of being, you know, my family member, and therefore they can do anything. And that may sound like far out, but it's happening right now. The Goswamis, some of the Goswamis, not all of them, we're not saying that it's a blanket, but some of the Goswamis, they just think they're, you know, the only ones, and they have full monopoly, you know, and therefore they do with the Lord's paraphernalia and whatever, the way they like, and blaspheme the actual devotees.
There's so many like websites that are the main purpose is to just blaspheme devotees.
Oh yes.
But they think that they're doing.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
Like the true service to Krishna.
Oh yes.
So this was also kind of.
Oh yes, that's exactly right.
Them.
That's exactly right. Beautiful point. Stay off of those sites. Stay off the internet. They have there's one group that publishes a magazine that's called Back to Prabhupada. And all there is in it are blasphemies of Krishna's devotees. And you know what I call it? Back. If you read this, you'll turn your Prabhupada. And that's exactly what it is. And they, like you said, they do it in they're thinking, they're protecting Prabhupada or protecting his movement or whatever. And all the people that are actually empowered to spread Christian consciousness and actually doing it in front of their eyes, under their noses, they can't stand it because they're envious.
That point about how the Sahajas are imbued with this uncontrollable and lust, so that it distinguishes that actually the way that they are performing, you know, quote unquote devotional service,
yes,
is not the example, is not the
exactly.
way to go. So similarly, I think Krishna kind of shows that in different ways with
absolutely
all these other groups.
Absolutely. Because he's fulfilling everyone's desire. His business is to fulfill everyone's desire. And therefore he said, okay, my desires are fulfilled. And part of that is, I did it in such a way as some atheists will think, you know, I actually was killed by the touch. You know, he's gone out every single time he's gone out to defeat an army, they couldn't touch him. And even if they did, it just didn't do anything. And every single one of them were defeated. Even the most powerful, and he would just deal with them like when he was a child. And yet they're thinking, yes, see, he died because of an arrow touching his foot. Hello? Okay, it's exactly 7:30. Bewitching hour. I'll turn into a pumpkin if I go for anything, because I got to do the reading tomorrow. Got to get back into the reading. Thank you very much. Thanks to our godbrothers, Vridananda Das Goswami, Kopi Pranananda Prabhu, and Dravida, for being empowered by Srila Prabhupada to do this wonderful work of finishing the Bhaktivedanta purports. And notice how they themselves call it the Bhaktivedanta purports and give all credit to him. And there are people who criticize them because they're not saying it exactly in the same way as Prabhupada. But anybody who reads these with honest intent will hear Prabhupada loud and clear. Okay, so thanks to them. Thanks to Srila Prabhupada for empowering them. Thanks to all the devotees of the Lord who are hearing and chanting the glories as it's described in these purports. Krishna is pleased because that's why he came and gave these pastimes, so that we can hear them and become eligible to go back to Godhead. Srimad-Bhagavatam ki jai. Gaur Premanandi. Hari Om. See you tomorrow night, 6 o'clock, Central Time, United States, right here in Radha Lane, live studios. Hare Krishna. Gaur Premanandi.